a content creator on Twitch and TikTok, and I'm trying to do YouTube. I think I have no idea. Making a lot of tea related content.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. My name's Elise. I'm Let Tea. I also am a content creator on Twitch and TikTok and Instagram and all the places where people are willing to listen about tea because I'm an ambassador. I'm an ambassador of the leaf. Let is a B2B marketplace that facilitates direct trade between independent, family-owned tea farms and tea business buyers around the world. So, Colin, thanks for having me on the podcast. This has been like a really fun way to of course, for us to get to know each other, become friends, but then also to have an interesting new perspective in talking about and learning about tea from someone who has traveled all over the tea growing world with someone that is enthusiastically doing a swan dive into the deep end of the tea world like you are.
Hey, like Ron Swanson once said, why half-ass two things when you can whole-ass one thing, right?
I like that.
I love the what you just said though about wherever people will listen to you talk about tea because it's funny to me how willing people are to just listen to somebody just kind of ramble on about tea for a while, as I have and I know as you have, because half the time I'm just a little tea drunk and just kind of just talking, stream of consciousness talking, and somehow something worthwhile gets said once every 1,000 seconds. But no, it's funny to me that there are people that are like, yes, I will watch this person make tea and talk about it.
People find it really relaxing, even if
Oh
even
yeah.
if people aren't heavily engaged in what's being talked about and trying to learn from it. It's kind of like one of those ASMR things, I guess,
Yeah.
which is fine.
I have considered on multiple occasions tagging my stream ASMR as kind of as a joke, but also I don't know, maybe somebody.
No, it's like that. Yeah, it's like that. I accept it. I accept it. Someone says, "Oh, this is boring. You're just talking about tea." It's like, yeah, well, you're welcome. If you fall asleep, you're welcome.
You're
Mission
welcome.
accomplished.
So what are we drinking tonight?
Tonight we are going to be drinking two different blended teas.
Yes.
And so that's the theme. So every podcast trying to pair either complements or parallels or contrasts. And so today, certainly going to be some contrast. Several, I think we're going to get all three with this mixture. So we have
Yeah.
a Genmaicha from Shizuoka, Japan. Genmaicha stands for roasted brown rice tea. So it's green tea that's blended with a roasted brown rice. So that's the blend there. And then the other tea that we're going to be enjoying is a sticky rice Sheng pour. This is also a blended tea. This is raw pu'er from Nanoshan in Yunnan, China, but it's not blended with rice. It is blended with an herb that has the aroma of rice. So it's very interesting. And as we get into talking and tasting about these teas, I will be showing photos and videos to help you visualize in your mind what it means when we say, that it's blended with an herb that smells like rice. And the name of that herb is sticky rice, just because the aroma is so characteristic of sticky rice.
Something that's funny to me about that is that I'm trying to think of what the hell does rice smell like? And I guess for one, I guess I've never had sticky rice, but I don't know. I just what is
Have you eaten at a Thai restaurant?
maybe one time.
Okay, so yeah, oh, that's too bad, man. Colin, we're gonna have to go eat some food together, catch you up.
Listen, I'm a Midwest boy. I grew up in a really small town. I went to college in a small city, but still a really Midwest city. Culture did not come to me.
um, Yeah. So maybe after you taste this tea, you'll know what it is. It's like I don't even think that you have had to have smelled sticky rice or have eaten sticky rice to know what I'm talking about. But it's just like the smell of like glutinous rice. Like yeah, that's basically it. So which tea are we starting with?
Do you want to start with the Genmaicha?
Okay, that's smart.
That because usually like Tuesday usually on my stream was tea time, but because Monday is this tea time, Tuesday is games because that's a lot of tea. And the thing that I always say is that we're following wine tasting rules, which are you start with your lightest white and go to your and work your way towards your boldest red. And so for me, I feel like Genmaicha again, never had it, not certain was what it tastes like, but knowing green tea in general, I'd be worried that the Sheng would just destroy the palate.
I don't think so, but I mean, you might be surprised just because it is a really gentle tea.
The Sheng.
This Sheng tea is by far our most approachable,
Hmm.
like pu'er tea. You know, because like a lot of people that are getting into tea, and they do get some pu'er tea. They say, oh, this is kind of a more sophisticated, acquired taste because the energies and the taste can be quite intense. But then this one is like very kind of sweet and approachable, kind of like um, milk oolong. You know milk oolong?
I'm familiar. I haven't had any myself. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I haven't had any myself, but I am familiar.
It is a flavored tea that
Right.
is flavored with, it's like an oolong that's flavored with this like really kind of sexy and approachable milk aroma. Most milk oolongs, although the cultivar does have a natural milky character to it, most milk oolongs are um, flavored. The ones that you're going to find like in the US, they are flavored with additional kind of perfumes to them. Um, and that tea by far, like when I first started the business, was like our best seller for the first like 3 or 4 years of business. And you know, the market has become more elevated and educated, and to see, you know, beyond that sexiness. And so I kind of equate this tea in the same way that like this tea is getting pu'er tea into even some mainstream tea shops, mainstream coffee shops, just because it does have such an approachable, you know, character to it.
I've definitely seen it in a lot of different shops. Also, just sidebar, one of my tea pets is just a little ceramic duck named Jeff,
Yeah.
and we're always making fun of Jeff. And Stripe is sitting on my lap, and Stripe is my cat, and she definitely just like intentionally, I will say, whipped her tail onto Jeff, knocking him over. So it's just proof that Jeff sucks. That's all I have to say about that. Um, so shall we make some Genmaicha then?
Let's make some Genmaicha.
So I've warmed up my Kyushu, and by the way, I love your Kyushu. I love that color. It looks really well
This
used.
one. Yeah, this is the tokoname. This is like the classic. Yeah, the classic.
Say mine's a tokoname as well, but it's a little newer. I'm doing this is about a 280 mil. I usually use about 200 milliliters of water. I'm giving it about 6-ish grams. You know.
Nick says that Jeff needs some catechins.
Listen, Jeff doesn't know what he's doing. Something that I love about having tea pets on your table is that like people always ask me, you know, like what's the point? I'm like, the point is that they're cute, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a goofy little kind of it's not a goofy thing, but like they're the point is that you know, they're cute and they carry meaning, and they carry, you know, they bring you luck and all that
Yeah.
traditional stuff, but at the end of the day, like they're just something that you like, you know. And for
Yeah.
me, like they're cute, and
Yeah.
but I feel like mine have slowly developed personalities
Of
because like
course.
When I was making a lot of TikToks, and I haven't been making as many lately, I would always like have them talk to each other in text, and like Kermit the golden toad, was just very just kind of pretty matter of fact, but Iroh the cat was he was a little bit more kind of pompous and stuff, but I don't know. Anyway, Tea Pets,
Did
love
you
them.
did you ever use the filter where you can put your mouth and your eyes onto an inanimate object? Have you used that filter with them yet?
I haven't, but that would be really funny, actually. That would be really funny. I should give that a shot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We should try all types of content. We need more tea content on TikTok. We need more. Yeah, tea pets are important, and I think tea pets for the first, or I shouldn't say first, but for like the last like 5 years have really grown in popularity, and just like how the sticky rice approachness is what's getting pu'er tea into like mainstream tea shops now and tea spaces. Um, Tea Pets is doing the same thing as far as like making gung fu cha something that's approachable and fun and popular. And the Tea Pets tend to be like the first thing that like new tea lovers really kind of geek out on and get really into, and they can be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
And you really start to realize that it's not even about getting like an official, Yixing tea pet made by, artists, ceramic from China. Like they can be anything. I mean, I've got a quartz. I got quartz that looks like a piece of bacon on my table, because sacred bacon.
It look
Um,
yeah.
I've got lots of junk on my table. Unfortunately, I don't have my overhead cam working today. I could show all those things, but yeah, I even got this thing. My friend made it. No one's ever noticed this one. This one's a little lewd and inappropriate. I don't know if you can make out what that
Is it a
is.
dick and balls?
Yeah, with wings.
I love it. Oh my. So I poured a little bit fast, but you're about 2 minutes deep there. I love that. It's too good. Oh
Yeah,
shoot.
I've decanted mine. Mine's ready to go. Genmaicha is one of those forgiving green teas, and the reason why is because the green tea in the blend, and the reason why this blend exists, is to add value to tea that would be considered like lower quality by the market, less
Right.
strength, less umami. They tend to be teas harvested later in the season, so the flavor's not as intense that you get from like a kabuse or a gyokuro or just a normal shincha. And
Right.
so in the Japanese domestic market, that tea tends to have lower value, gets lower prices in the market, and so what the farmers have evolved over time, and Japanese culture, is really supportive of evolution and improvement. The whole concept of kaizen, that they blend in the roasted brown rice to bring some sweetness, some softness, and some unique character to that tea that otherwise would have been lower quality.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers. Yeah, which is why it's really hard to oversteep Genmaicha, although you can, but it's not like oversteeping a gyokuro and breaking hearts all over the world.
Yeah. Okay, so I smelled it and
Yep.
I was curious to see if it tasted this way too.
Mm-hmm.
And this is amazing. I was listening to uh, uh, another podcast recently, and they were talking about how tea has energy, but tea also just kind of like makes you think of things, reminds you of things. There's
Mm-hmm.
nostalgia, yada yada. And this tea reminds me, in terms of the flavor and the smell, of my favorite cereal,
Okay. Yep, that makes sense.
and specifically, it's Honey Smacks.
Honey smacks.
And
Mmm.
And I took a sip of the tea and was immediately like taken back to being 8 years old, sitting at my grandma's table because she would get these. We would go to stay with her, and she would get these little like 8 packs of Kellogg's cereal. They're the little single serve boxes. You open them up, just pour milk straight in, and she would get the ones that were completely honey smacks just for me. And
Nice.
yeah, okay, yeah. I that the first sip just immediately like brought everything like that back to me right away.
Yeah, I've experienced that before, specifically with that cereal. I don't know if it's this tea, because the green from this tea really does cut into kind of that honey smack,
Hmm.
sweetness. Um, Now I look forward to trying this sticky rice with you. I look forward to see what that reminds you of. Um,
I'm excited.
because that's the value of blending, and to a lesser extent, flavoring. I'm not a
Hmm.
big fan of flavored teas,
Me
um,
neither, but
but the blending is something that's interesting because this green tea on its own would be kind of unremarkable.
hmm.
The second you throw in those roasted brown rice, then it suddenly becomes something really special.
So I did a little bit. I was doing a little bit of reading before the podcast tonight, before we
Hmm.
were recording tonight, just in terms of because when I first heard about Genmaicha and it was rice and tea and stuff, my initial reaction was just what it is that okay, that sounds like something that you would do to make the tea last longer, right? Like when you add water to your shampoo. I don't know, like these things that makes sense. And so I looked up this specific one on your site and was reading kind of the description about it. And something that caught my eye was the note that because what I had read before was that typically it's later harvest leaves, kind of the cheaper leaves, and that's why Genmaicha is not a super expensive tea. But
Yeah.
something that I noticed was that specifically this one, it said that it uses spring harvest leaves.
Yeah.
It uses a higher quality leaf,
Yeah.
and so something that you're saying here in terms of like kind of experimenting and taking this kind of simple form of tea into a kind of a higher level of flavor and body and balance and stuff. I think is really well represented here, and I'm curious to try some maybe like more traditional, I guess, with just kind of some like lower grade leaf, to compare at some point.
Hmm.
But I can definitely, I don't know, I'm intrigued to hear what you have to say about that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, so we certainly could find genmaicha that's made with the later harvested leaf, but um, this grower that we work with is focused on quality, is focused on really only harvesting the leaf and bringing to market the leaf and product that is going to further support their sustainability initiatives.
Right.
And so actually most of their tea, and we'll get to this tea on the podcast another time. Most of their tea from later harvest, like from the summer harvest into the autumn, are all going towards black tea production. So
Mm.
if they're going to offer Genmaicha to their customers, yeah, they use the spring first flush, as well as the Hojicha, which Hojicha is another tea that the Japanese tea producers have developed the hack of optimizing the value in the tea by roasting it to give it a unique sweet character. But even the Hojicha that we distribute for this farm is also coming from the first flush. So, the tea is higher value than the typical Genmaicha that you'll find on the market. But even the green tea in this Genmaicha is not their Midori Shincha. It's not like their highest grade of the first flush. It is coming from later in the first flush season versus coming from like the summer flush, which is typically where you see Genmaicha. But they make black tea from all of their summer flush, and we'll be tasting and drinking that soon enough on the podcast.
Is that common though to use the later flushes for the black teas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm
typically, across the board with tea production, the younger, suppler leaves coming from earlier in the season are usually reserved for white and green teas, while the later harvest are being used in oolong and black tea. There's deviations from that, of course, but
right.
that's like the typical rule. And I believe we had talked about it before. The bongene of the leaf, which is for oolong production, you actually want those bud sets to completely open and completely mature before harvesting them for
Right.
processing.
Hmm.
Yep, yep.
So how is your tea? I feel like I usually talk about how the tea tastes, but I'm curious how is your tea? What do you taste?
What do I taste? I mean, yeah, I know this tea like the back of my hand.
Right.
Yeah. Um, it's always surprising the astringency that comes out in this tea, but again, that's mostly a factor of it being from later in the season. The plants were exposed to more of the UV radiation, but the brown rice just like rounds it out, sweetens it out, makes it very palatable, enjoyable to drink. I did brew mine quite strong,
Hmm.
but it's good. It's good.
I something that I always struggle with the Kyushu is pouring too quickly.
Mhm.
And I feel like I might have done that with this one again because it's just my filter is covered. I'm going in for my second infusion here.
I don't know. This tea, though, I think is probably even more buzzy than the other tea we'll be drinking. So I'm going to be really cautious about, taking down three infusions in a short period of time.
At least I'm gonna be honest. That sounds kind of like quitter's talk.
Oh, really? Are you challenging me?
So I understanding the amount of tea you probably drank in your life, no. However, the competitive side of me, yes. The green, it's hard to see on my overhead cam because I have to like light it so harshly to prevent this. I've got some crappy cameras, and if I don't light it well enough, it'll flicker. But the color on this looks a lot like a Fukamushi Sencha
Mm-hmm.
in the second steep here, and I did a bit of a flash steep because I found with the Japanese greens the second steep is just hard as hell.
Yeah.
So I just kind of went off flash steep, but yeah, it looks a lot more like a much deeper steamed green. What can you tell me? What can you tell us about where this tea comes from?
Mm. Yeah, this comes from a place in Shizuoka Prefecture, which is actually the largest, most productive tea producing region of Japan. And
Say somebody I was talking to recently said it. That's like the tea place in Japan.
but that's quickly changing. It really is. The famous original place of high quality tea, that's in Kyoto. That's Ujicha,
Right.
and actually, most of what's labeled as Ujicha is like maybe it was packaged and processed in Uji, but they're buying leaf from all over the country. Just has like a very powerful marketing name.
I'm learning
Shizuoka,
that's common.
yeah, Shizuoka has like that's like kind of the tourist destination, and that's where sencha production was popularized. And what I was told when I lived in Japan and went to Shizuoka and went to the tea museum there and kind of learned about the history of how that region exploded so quickly, because it was only within the past like 100 years that it's really exploded to that size. And someone had told me that that is where all of the samurai, after they had to go into retirement, like forced into retirement when, you know, that whole era came to an end, there were a lot of unemployed people that, you know, needed work. So they kind of set up this industry in Shizuoka, which is at the base of Fujisan, Mount Fuji. So you always see the beautiful picturesque sceneries of the rolling tea hills and Mount Fuji behind it. This specific tea is coming from the Naturality Tea Farm, which is, you know, a family, and the head of the family, he has been doing organic farming for over 30 years. I think actually 40 years now. And it's sad and strange to say this, but that was very uncommon, and that was like very against the grain of him to do, to start organic farming. And once he started it, he realized that like his efforts were futile unless he could convince all of his neighbors around him to join in with him. And there was a lot of resistance. They built up all of their marketing through like a CSA type of distribution model. So they're very well known.
CSA meaning?
Community supported agriculture.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't call it a CSA, but like that's like in American food culture, that's like the closest thing, where a farmer has a direct relationship with their customers and maybe have like a regular subscription box that you receive from them. And so they pioneered that model and been doing it for decades in their local community. And so that has really supported their efforts.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so they sell directly to their customers, and they do a lot of really great outreach community events where families can come harvest tea, you know, make the teimomi, you know, in the springtime you can make the sencha by hand, so you can like hand roast it. It's called teimomi. And you know, they do like other agro-tourism things. And so over the years, you know, they started with their few plots of land, and over time have been acquiring other plots of land via leasing. You know, so like, and this is a common problem in Japanese tea production right now, and it's a sad problem, and it's one of those types of things when you, like, we interviewed Ayumi, who is like the daughter in this family, and she speaks fluent English. She actually went to university in the United States, so she does a lot of the interviews and explaining things for us. She starts crying when she talks about it, that there is this great heritage and pride in growing and producing tea in Japan. Mm-hmm. But the powers that be, the commodification, has really made it difficult for farmers to be profitable. Like, Japan is probably perhaps one of the most disadvantaged and backwards economically tea producing countries, more so than India or Sri Lanka, like where the economics don't work out. It's like, how is this industry still operating when, you know, cost of production is actually higher than the market price that you can get? Like, it's that bad, that like a Japanese tea farmer is essentially using their pension to keep the heritage going. And so, you know, the older generation, I think the average age of a tea farmer is in the upper 60s. You know, almost 70 years old is the average age of a tea farmer. So it's only the older generation that is sticking it out. You know, 50 years ago, it was a profitable operation, but now it's not. And they stick it out, but they educate their kids and tell their kids, do not come back here, do not be farming, do not do this. And so, yeah, they go and get tech jobs, and then over time, that older generation that was holding down production, they die. right? And the kids are not going to take over. But the land is a finite resource. Land in a place like Japan, which is like an
Right.
island, like it's a finite thing. They're not just going to go sell it, that's gold to keep that in the family forever. But then there's still the tea plants there that start going wild, and a lot of the heritage is lost. So, most of the like e-commerce exciting Japanese tea producers that you can find online, as well as the tea producers that we work with, are younger and not necessarily traditionally tea farmers. They may be young men that came from the city and moved to the village and learned how to grow tea, and then they connect with the families that have these like feral tea gardens, and make the arrangements to lease the land, so that they can produce tea there. And this family, they started doing that, and they've been doing that for 40 years now, just slowly picking up leases everywhere. And now it's at a point where like they're not even wanting to pick up the leases. The families are coming to them. Like they've become such an influential part of the tea growing community of this area. Nakayama, that's what this area is called, which means in the mountains. So it's just deep within these rolling mountains. That now they pretty much control almost 100% of all of the tea in the whole area, because the families just like don't want to deal with it, and they trust them. And then it's good for him and his family, because now that they are operating, managing all of the land, they're able to do the organic, and this is certified organic, which is also another unique thing for small growers, because for small tea growers that like are supported in their artisanship, like they're just doing it organically, like no certification needed. But this family has been going at it for so long that over the years they've acquired those certifications. And
Because why not, right?
yeah, it does. Unfortunately, it does make you more attractive in the market, especially the international market. So that's the main thing. But a lot of farmers are choosing now not to do it, and I support them. I tell them, hey, don't worry. Like, it's a thing to do, but with a good quality product, it shouldn't be an issue either. Yeah.
So, first of all, just real quick, very heady. You were right. Floating, and not like caffeine buzz floating, just like, yes. Something that you said that intrigues me, as somebody that has little experience with the tea buying market, that has not been to these tea producing regions and countries, right? That kind of strikes me about this, is how you mentioned the younger people coming kind of from the city, learning to farm, and making money, or growing a business that way. Because something that I feel that is interesting to me is the interesting Western fascination with tea, in that, like, something that you and I always talk about is that we're not doing a tea ceremony, we're just making tea. It just looks fancy because this is not how we normally do it. I think I've said before, like when in the US and in Europe and stuff, anything that's done with any amount of like intention to it, like, oh, that's a ceremony. No, it's just like you're paying attention to what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Something that I see sometimes it's interesting is this interesting fetishization almost of this tea making practice and culture, with certain groups and communities and people in the West, right? Because it's just, I don't know, it's different, it's quirky, it's cool, and maybe all of us are guilty of that. I have no idea. I know that I just like good tea. Maybe I'm doing that. I hope not. We'll find out. But what that description of kind of the current interesting kind of age demographic in the Japanese tea industry kind of speaks to me of is almost capitalizing on that interesting Western fetishization of the tea industry and of kind of quirky teas and different styles of making teas and stuff,
Hmm.
in a way that isn't maybe not maybe isn't as consistent with the original tradition, I guess. And I don't know, maybe the people that are starting these companies, that are younger and kind of doing that, maybe they are more concerned about that. But it's just something that I think about, and that um, moves away from, I guess, the tradition of what the tea. Yeah, I'm trailing off now because the
Yeah,
tea is like making real.
it's buzzy.
It's a stony tea. It is a stony tea. Jesus Christ. The second infusion too is a little bit softer. It's like creamy now. Jesus. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking about.
So when it comes to tea production in Japan, at least for the past 30 years or so, there has been a great evolution
Hmm.
in production, and it's actually a deviation from the traditional, and it's ways to try to cut corners. It's ways to try to produce higher yields, which is why chemical use has become so prevalent in Japan. It really
Like
high,
pesticides and stuff.
yes, pesticides, fertilizers. Um, and the reason why production has evolved at the farm level is not because of the consumer, is not because of the Western fetishization of tea. It has to do with, it's almost with Japan's fetishization with the United States. And this
Sure.
was, yeah, this was something that was taught to me when I did a Japanese MBA, so I trying to learn Japanese business, and one of our professors was like a longtime Japanese economist and business leader, and um, he had said that after World War II and up until now, there has been this great effort in Japan to idolize and replicate the cultures and um, methodologies. And so that's why the Green Revolution that happened here, when we started using chemicals, we started employing monoculture, we started doing this thing, Japan started doing it, and even more, took it to the next level of optimizing, the commodity nature of tea growing and of all agriculture. It's kind of ironic because if you want to export tea into Japan, there are very, very strict standards of how organic or chemically tested the tea has to be in order
Like
for it to be
their
compliant.
FDA.
Yeah, by their
Okay.
import, customs.
Hmm.
You have to show, a negative chemical test, which is even more stringent than the EU standards, or you have to show an organic certification, which is ironic because in Japan, their domestic production is not by those standards at all. Actually, quite a few of the teas that I'm friends with the makers of those teas, like we can't even get their products into Europe because they test so high.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's definitely that kind of irony there. But the tea market in Japan, the wholesale tea market, and I'll just give a little bit of a history on how agriculture marketing happens in Japan. And this all happened since World War II. Again, a lot of the infrastructures and programs that are in place in Japan right now are, were really launched after the war. The government started a cooperative marketing, centralized marketing effort called Japan Agriculture. And they made it illegal to sell any of your product outside of that centralized marketing channel. And 50 years ago or 60 years ago, it was actually a very beneficial, efficient system for farmers to get their products into the market. Um, but
Basically, seeing that they couldn't like source it to other places to get the cheapest bid, or
yeah, so
okay.
the government had this cooperative as insurance to the farmers, that no matter what, they were always going to get paid. And that
Right, right.
happens. When you're a farmer and you take your product to Japan Agriculture, you are guaranteed to have every last gram of your product purchased from you. There's that insurance. Now, whether or not you're going to be paid a good price is
Is another
whole
okay.
other thing. And but this is all government sponsored. This is not unique. Like, these types of marketing schemes exist in other countries, but this one is actually sponsored by the government. The government is JA. And what JA does is, not only do they work with the farmers and assure that the farmers are going to get paid, but they also work with the industry. And they liaison to arrange things. And unfortunately, what happens in these kinds of buying schemes is, when enough buying power is accumulated on the buyer side, like, they get to make the rules.
Right, right.
Right?
They can set prices and stuff.
Yeah. And so that's what's been happening over the past 3 or 4 decades. And it's heartbreaking, because the price of tea, the per kilo price that they get when they go to JA, has actually reduced in price since 40 years ago. While all the other inflations, labor costs, water costs, chemical costs, seed costs, plants costs, factory costs, all those electricity costs, like, those have all gone up. But then the price, their market price, has gone down. The demand has gone up. So tea as like a cultural item is still a very important part of Japanese culture, but it's not the traditional sense. Like, I saw a report one time. They surveyed a bunch of different people, and they found that the majority of people, like millennial age people, didn't even know this was called a kyusu. Japanese people, they just said it was like their grandparents' thing. There's such a detachment from the traditional, but people are drinking lots of tea there, but it's all in the form of bottled, ready to drink.
Right. I've heard that in Japan specifically, like, bottled ready to drink tea is very, very, very common.
Yeah, it's super common, and nothing wrong with it. Actually, that was my first introduction into tea.
Mm-hmm. Same.
I got a job doing quality control for the company that invented ready to drink unsweetened green tea.
I understand. I meant same in a very different context.
Yeah, no, I understand. No, for a lot of people,
bad.
that is their first time to drink tea. Is like the Costco, they get the oil cha at Costco, the green bottle. It's a good product. It's a great product. I thought it was a great product when I worked there. It wasn't until I started to ask questions about supply chains and what's going on, and I loved that company, and I got a Japanese MBA because I wanted to continue to work for that company. I wanted to develop their supply chain networks and coding systems. But they told me, we're a Japanese company, that's all management work, and you need to know Japanese, and you need to be like a Japanese manager. And I was like, okay, I'll go figure it out.
Good, do that. Watch me.
Yeah. And in the process of doing that, I was working with farmers in Japan, and like the word itoen for Japanese farmers is almost like saying Mufasa. It makes everybody shiver, because that name alone, even though you have Sapporo, you have Kirin, you have all these other like major beverage brands that are now making tea and buying tea and influencing the pricing in the market, like Itoen is kind of assigned, the leader role of starting this whole thing, and it's very damaging. It's damaging directly to the farmers' lives. Like they're losing, I think it's something like 75 cents a kilo, the farmers. So like every year they have to like pay out of their pocket thousands of dollars just to produce, a new crop. But it's pride. Anybody else would have been like, fuck it. Like when it starts getting like that for the tea estates in India or Sri Lanka, they're just like, hey, we're out. Like, we're not making money anymore. Like, this is up to you. But there's so much pride that,
Yeah. Do you want to look at the place?
Yeah, let's look at the place.
Yeah. Do you have it set up to show from your end, or should I pull it up on mine too?
Yeah, you should pull it up. My overhead cam threw me for a loop, so. But I'll pull. You can just pull up the profile. There's
Yeah.
pictures. There's enough there.
That's what it is.
Alright, I got it on now. I'll just
So
play
I've
the
got
video. I love the video.
so I'll just play the video on my end too.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, this is a Yumi.
My name is Ayumi Kinezuka. I'm an organic tea farmer here in Shizuoka. I came back 11 years ago, and my father actually started organic tea farming 38 years ago. So over time, we have improved, and now you can see we can produce the organic tea this beautiful and have no damage from the pests. It's not just about the tea production, what we do here. It's about the environment and also the specific culture in this region connected to the environment and the nature. So we are hoping to deliver that kind of message to the consumer. The family farm will survive. That's my hope for every region, not just Shizuoka or specifically to this Fujieda region, but everywhere, because each region produces very unique tea. So we don't want to be the only tea producer in Japan. It's very nice to have other tea fields because we learn from each other. And when other people are producing very good quality of organic tea, we can learn from them. This is managed by family. So mostly myself, my father, my brother, and my partner, 4 of us are working in the field. And my younger sister, she's doing the final processing of the tea and packaging of the tea. So we ship directly to the consumer. So she's in charge of that. And my mom is in charge of accounting. Yes. So usually around this time of the year, today is May 9th, we are done harvesting, but we are still harvesting because of the weather. But the quality itself, we are happy with it. Like you can see the leaves are very soft and they are growing very well. So we hope, we haven't really made the package yet. We hope they will turn out well, but from the field, we can say the leaves are growing very well. So I hope that people who drink our tea sometime, they have a chance to visit us in Japan, and to this field, we will welcome everyone.
So sweet.
I know.
So ridiculously sweet.
That is gorgeous too.
Yeah, they're in a very nice place. Like I said, the place is called Nakayama, which literally means inside the mountain, inner mountain. Yeah, they're definitely in a good place.
I've got loud neighbors.
You got loud neighbors.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they're not fighting. Go give them a cup of tea.
No.
Hey, so this is the kabuse. So you see in the other images, if you roll through, there's like an image with the black sheets over the tea plants directly over. That's kabuse.
The dog?
No, the dog is great though. The dog's name is Kuma, which means bear. Yeah, he's a cutie. Good dog. Good tea dog.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, there's an image with like the black tarp. If you've ever had kabuse, this is what kabuse means. So it's shaded, so similar to gyokuro or matcha, it is shaded, which inhibits any of the tannin production and optimizes the amino acid production. the theanine and all of that. But this is directly
Higher
against the
caffeine,
plant.
too.
I don't know if it affects the caffeine so much as it definitely affects the theanine. It does increase the theanine.
True.
And reduces the tannin, which is another important thing, you know. But like when they do it like this, it's less labor. Like this is easier to do, and they may only shade for a few weeks prior to harvest. But when it comes to gyokuro or to matcha, it's really important that the shading has to be at least, 4 feet above the plant, versus directly on top of the plant. So I just thought I know we're not drinking that tea today, but I just wanted to
Oh, that's interesting.
offer that bit of insight about shading, like how important shading is, for quality and tea production.
I am going to say that, first of all, I just finished my 3rd infusion, and I need a slight breather before.
I told you.
Listen, and I said that was quitter's talk, and you were correct. I was wrong. You were the one that was being smart. I should have listened. You are the tea master.
I'm not. No. But I'm gonna catch up to you. I'm gonna get my 3rd infusion. I'll catch up while you're taking a little breather. I'll catch up.
Yeah. Say I can turn off the live symbol, and we can just kind of interact.
Cool.
Chat
Yeah,
a little
let's
bit
do
and
that.
hang out.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we'll have fun. It'd be good
So-
to catch up with some of the chat here too on my side.
Hazel, it's good to see you. Glad to have you. Welcome back. I am going to take a short little break and stretch my legs real quick. I encourage everybody on my end and on Elise's end as well to do the same. But I'll be back in just a moment. I also need to get more water.
Yeah. All right. I'll hold it down. Hey, Jim. Thanks for hanging out with us today. It's good to see you. I hope you and Edna are doing well. Jim is a tea farmer in Hawaii. Oh, Vaka. I'll let Vaka know when he gets back. How is the tea doing, Jim? Edna's mom was picking tea. That's great. I hope it came out well. Mojo, good to see you as well. Thank you so much for stopping by and saying hello. Much love, much love. Yeah, usually I have an overhead cam, but it's not working today. So that's why the orientation of today's stream is just a little bit different than usual. I'll go check out Bucka's chat. Oh, you're doing well. Good to hear that, Jim. Hope the weather is good. The weather here in Las Vegas has been pretty raunchy. Hot and humid. We've been having the monsoons coming through.
I can breathe again.
No, I was having a chat with a friend, Jim, who's a tea farmer on the Big Island of Hawaii. Yeah.
I've noticed that you have a lot of Hawaiian teas, it seems.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where I was studying tea, and that's where I was working at Itoen, was in Hawaii. And so my first experience with tea growers and tea production was in Hawaii. I did a market. I can send you the link to it. There's a market here. I'll put it in the chat everywhere. But I was hired to do a market feasibility study for Hawaii grown tea. And so I had to interview all the farmers to kind of collect some data and all of that. Oh, thank you.
I'm gonna burn incense for this one too.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Do I want rose? I think I want rose incense.
Getting all hippie on us.
Listen, I recently started burning incense when I was drinking tea, like in the morning, and it is lovely, honestly. Like it's so funny because I get like a little tea drunk in the morning, and I just like sit there and like stare at the smoke,
Yeah.
and I'm like, God, I feel like I'm high. I'm just damn, it's smoke, just good tea.
Hi, God. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. We're taking a break. We're in the middle of recording a live podcast called The First Steep, where Colin and I drink teas from around the world. So we drink pairings of tea, all with the intention of learning and like having a deep intuitional learning around terroir and tea. So today we're drinking 2 blended teas, both having some association with rice.
Yeah, I picked up on that. I thought that was cute.
Teas. Well, and you know that there's a really popular rice dish in Japan where you use green tea
Yeah.
to turn the rice into like a porridge. Really popular dish with the plum.
I'm like fascinated by Japanese cooking because it takes a lot of things that I feel like most cultures already do, and then just add a little twist to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm boiling some water. I'm ready to go soon-ish. I'm gonna move the Kyushu off. Actually, my tea table is not big enough for this.
Okay. I'm trying to get into your chat so I can throw this link over there. Actually, why am I even thinking that? I can't do that. I can't do that. So yeah, we just finished doing the Genmaicha. The Genmaicha is a blended green tea from Japan that is blended with roasted brown rice. And now we'll be moving on to a sticky rice Sheng. So it is blended. You may be lucky. I'll check out mine. I'll see if mine.
Before we do go back though, I am gonna ask, does my chat have any questions or anything? Because I don't think I asked, but feel free to chime in while we're kind of waiting on my water to heat up here. But yeah, what you were saying.
Yeah, I got one in my little. I think when I packed your sample for this, I made an effort into making sure I included one of the leaves of the herbs.
How would I identify it?
It looks different. You'll see it. Thanks, God. I have somebody in my Twitch chat called God. Well, God is angry, but we'll leave the angry part out. It's good to have you here, God.
Cheers, God.
Did you find one? Did you find a leaf?
I don't think I did.
Okay, well I have one so I can show you. And we'll see. I have images of the plant itself and of the, I don't know how I'll share that with you, but
What is this tea farm called? I'm gonna pull up the page. You wanna go back to live?
yeah, let's do it.
All right, and we're back. So I've had a breather.
Good.
I'm feeling a little better. I got my guy one out. I'm ready for shotting.
Good. Yeah, I got my guy one. So yeah, today we use the same teaware. It's the first time we're using the similar teaware.
Well, before we get, while I was kind of getting ready, it was something I was kind of thinking about a little bit was how so far, interestingly enough, you've experimented more with brewing method, and I've been just like amazed with tea. But something though that I was kind of thinking about as well before starting, and that I it's kind of a goal, I guess. I've been in the past few episodes, I've been kind of so focused on the actual production of our little podcast, in terms of like making sure that my audio is fine, making sure that the stream looks good and stuff. That I don't feel like I've actually been drinking my tea. And it's something I feel like I have to remind myself of sometimes is, hey, don't just make your tea. Drink your tea.
Yeah.
Actually drink your tea, and so that's been my goal tonight, is to drink my tea, and I definitely did that with the Genmaicha.
Good. Yeah, you had three full infusions. So much you had to take a break.
Yes, that was a heady tea. I've been told I drink tea very fast. Anyway. So, sticky rice Sheng. I did a little bit of research. I'm using about 5 grams, 120 milliliters, boiling water.
Mm-hmm.
On your site for brewing instructions for this, you do mention a rinse, and just something that I was curious about, because I actually was thinking about this with some matcha that I was making the other evening, last night, the other evening. All the tea sessions run together. So we rinse the compressed teas for obvious reasons. Do we rinse the matcha? And I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, you can. I probably won't be rinsing this tea. I probably won't. But you can. You're welcome to.
The leaves
Yeah,
are
because
huge.
these aren't like compressed, but these are roasted and kind of rolled with the herb. And so yeah, it is kind of tightly wound, these leaves. I don't know. Have you seen matcha looking like this before? The long strings, the long.
No, actually, because the other. Here, let me go grab the other matcha that I have real fast.
Okay, cool.
It's accessible.
All right. It's accessible.
All right, so this is matcha from Ketley, actually. And now that I'm looking at it, it is a little wound, actually.
I doubt they're making this style. Yeah, that's just normal rolling.
Yeah.
This is a special kind of rolling on the sticky rice.
So first of all, by the way, I understand this smell now.
Okay.
One whiff of the gaiwan lid, and I'm like, I understand this smell now.
We should still go to a Thai restaurant to eat, though.
Yes, 100%, but I get it now. I will use the rinse for the return cup.
Sweet.
We'll just do it like we normally do. So that sticky rice flavor or scent, it smells like that generic kind of rice scent for one.
Mm-hmm.
But there's kind of a almost like a an umami type kind of meatiness to it. There's a thickness to it almost.
Yes.
Okay, going with my first infusion here. So do you want to talk about Maocha at all first? Or do we
Yeah.
need to? I have no idea.
Yeah, I was going to talk about this actually. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share the. Let's see if this works. So I don't know. Does that help?
Oh, hang on.
Do you see something?
Yeah, I see something. Give me just a second. I gotta add a new source for that.
Caught
Sure.
you off
Okay.
guard. We're good now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, this right here is the actual herb that the what's it called? Nomi Shang. Nomi Shang. So that means
Nomi
sticky
Shang?
rice aroma. Nomi Shang. That's this herb.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just harvested and dried and roasted with the tea, as well as like blended with the tea. So like I have in my you're not seeing my cam, but my folks can see it. I have like one of the leaves that was like blended in with the tea. I think if I go to the next photo, you can see it dried with the
Getting a view into your.
my photo booth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So here, this is the herb on top. So it's all bundled up. That's the dried herb on top of the
Right.
tea. So that's what
Okay.
it looks like. And sometimes you will find pieces of that herb in the tea, like I just found in mine. But like,
But
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask. And you're probably gonna answer this, so I could probably just wait. But you're saying it's roasted like this with it on top, and then just like sometimes the leaf falls off and gets kind of stuck inside.
Yeah, I don't think that they like actively sort the herb out of it. So this is the roasting machine. You see those chambers that the leaf is inside, and then he's like stoking coals underneath. He's stoking coals underneath. This is Lin Shu Lin. That's his name, Li Shu Lin. He's the tea master. Like he's one of the few people I know in this world that I confidently can call a tea master. He is like stoking the fire and the coals underneath to heat up all these chambers, and then the machine is just rolling them back and forth, and that's what gives these like long string forms. So this is not typical Maocha production. Maocha typically doesn't get roasted like this, but when he roasts the tea with the herb, it makes it, the aroma is more pronounced
Right.
with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Let's see. Got the production of the normal tea. So Sheng tea production is very similar to green tea production. So he's just done the kill green on this tea. He's going to do multiple kill green steps. The machine right behind him, there's like a tumbler machine, and you see that there's fire underneath of it. Like all of his equipment is all, wood burning stuff. That right there, that the roller behind him is what is doing the kill green. see. I know I have a video of him.
And so, as I understand it, so Kilgreen being like the pan firing or the steaming
Yeah.
process, and
Yes.
for Maucha, you're only going to do that with a percentage of what it takes. You're not actually trying to stop the oxidation. You're just trying to like
Yes.
slow the oxidation process down,
Yeah.
so it happens slowly over time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the Kilgreen machine. This is the machine that he's using to roast the tea. The tea is harvested and then it, withers. I'll play it again. So the tea would go all through this machine and come out the other end. Let's see if this is better. So yeah, the tea is harvested and then it's withered, and then after the withering, then it's rolled, right? So this is the rolling to shape the leaf, and then it would be allowed to rest, and then the following morning he would roast it in that first machine that I showed you with the herb, and then sun dried. He does all of his drying sun dried. He doesn't have any drying machines or anything like that. I'm back. Sorry, I should have given you a cue.
Let me just realign. Thank you for sharing.
So, I mean, those steps that we just went over, those are the exact same steps for green tea processing. Harvest, wither, kill green, rolling, drying. But with the Sheng pour, I think the kill green is not as intense. Like, I think there's still a little bit of oxidation that can happen. But of course, with the pu'er teas, they're all produced to encourage the biological fermentation to happen, which that will happen in this tea. But this is a young Sheng. I think it's a 2019 harvest, so it's still very young.
The packet said 2016.
Oh, there you go. You got a nice one.
Yeah. Say, I'm about to go in on my first infusion, so cheers to you.
Yeah.
And some 6-year-old Sheng. Thank you for sharing it with me.
Yep. It's a blended tea. Flavored, scented, blended. Sexy.
There's just such a warmth to this. It's like, I don't know, I can like feel it like going in and like spreading through my body, almost like the warm feeling of the tea just like going through. I hear some people sometimes talk about like the throat feeling on tea, paying attention to what the tea does in your throat.
Yeah.
And yeah, this one, it kind of like coats all the way down almost.
Yep. The Huigan.
Huigan, yeah.
Huigan translating to returning sweetness. So amazing sensation that you feel after you've drank, after you've already swallowed the tea. If you're drinking water, you just forget about it. Just go down your throat and forget about it. But with the Huigan, you're like constantly reminded of it. And sometimes you can be reminded of it hours later, and that's magical.
So I don't think I've experienced that ever, but I mean, it definitely like it just returns a little bit, and what's interesting is that Huigan, I've done a little bit of research into the concepts. I'm not going to pretend to understand it.
Yeah. Most
things with tea, I do my research and then I don't pretend to understand it. This being one of them. Is the fact that it's returning sweetness, right? Because it's not sweet like you would think it is. It's just, it's pleasant almost. I don't know.
It's like sweetness in the sense that umami is sweetness. Right?
Yeah.
And so like in the US, when we think of umami, we think of savory. Like that's what we've been told. It's like this additional flavor taste bud for savoriness. And when you're in Japan and learn the context around what umami means, it's more like umai and umami. Like umai means sweet. Like that's like a response you say to when you're but it's connected to umami. And umami is also sweet, but not like sugary sweet, but more of a textural kind of blanketed softness sweet.
Yeah.
And I believe that that's the same sweetness in Huigan that we're trying to identify.
What's interesting about it is that, and it wasn't until I finished this here, is just specifically, so there's a flavor, right? There's a Yunnan flavor. So we're talking about terroir. We always like to talk about terroir, and there's something that, one of the ways that I like to describe terroir to people when it comes to wine, when it comes to tea, these things, is that for me, in my experience, there's always one flavor that you can identify. There's one thing that binds them all together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it, the teas from this farm, from this farm, from this farm, the wines from this winery, from this winery, from this winery, they might only be a couple miles apart, but they're all going to be different. But there's always one thing that binds them. And for me, with the Yunnan teas specifically, it's this kind of chocolatey mushroom flavor, right?
Yummy.
And yeah, it's delicious, first of all, but and I've heard other people kind of describe a similar type flavor as kind of that kind of barnyard flavor with some choux pu'er.
Mm-hmm.
And but what's interesting is that with this, I don't get that until the Weigan, right? Until that kind of flavor kind of returns a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The flavor up front is so much of that sticky rice flavor, and I don't know. It's just, it feels like for me with this tea, as I kind of like get to know it a little bit and take my sip and kind of sit with it and learn about it and say, yes, hello, how are you, friend? It returns and says, here's some sticky rice, and here's where I'm from. Enjoy. And yeah, I don't know. I like to talk to my tea.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Have that relationship. That's how you get to know it, for sure. You know what the aroma of sticky rice, I mean, other than sticky rice itself, sometimes Bitcoin's BO smells like this. It's like
So
either this or like Frito-Lays,
I'm trying to identify it as well, and what's interesting is that when we talk about tasting notes, this happens to me all the time when I'm trying to describe beer to people. Because in beer, there's a common flavor or aroma, I should say, called cat piss, and cat piss is a delightful. Okay, it is an amazing aroma, one of my favorites. But you can't tell people that that's the aroma that they should be looking for until the beer is in the glass, because they don't want it then. And what's interesting is I feel like with tea, with specifically pu'er, that same kind of thing applies, where there are these flavors that you're like, you describe them, you say what they are, and you're like, God, that's terrible, but I love it. I need more of it. Like specifically people that I know that like really like choux pu'er, all the time they talk about, yeah, it tastes like a wet basement, kind of tastes like it was in a barn. I love it. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just there's a flavor that I'm getting from this, and since I don't know what Bitcoin's BO smells like, I cannot identify it as that. However, there is a flavor that I'm identifying here that I can't seem to quite pinpoint what it is, but is in that similar, like, this should be unpleasant, but it is shockingly nostalgic, and I'm enjoying it. And I
Yeah.
can't quite. It's like cheap
Yeah.
alcohol almost. Weirdly.
Well, I mean, for a lot of people, sticky rice itself is a very comforting thing. Especially if you grew up in like a Southeast Asian culture.
True.
Like sticky rice treats and goodies are often associated with different like holidays and festivals and whatnot. But yeah, it's just like sweet. It's not as associated to like a cereal like you got with the Genmaicha.
Definitely not.
Yeah, it's more savory, but certainly umami. But yeah, like Bitcoin's BO, a lot of times he smells like a bag of Frito-Lays. Like that's usually what it smells like, right?
And I'm sure you love it.
No, I mean it just means it's bath time. It's time to go get a bath. Like you
Yeah.
stinky, you stink.
Oh, I was serious. Like my Stripe, her breath smells terrible. I love smelling her breath when she breathes in my face. And don't. Yes, I am a crazy cat person. But
I didn't know that about you, Colin.
yes, I am.
Crazy cat person sniffing your cat's BO.
Sometimes. So the tea, though, I was reading up on this one a little bit too,
Okay.
and what I was seeing was interesting, because this is something that I feel like is strange, right? Because the pu'er is scary. I just gotta say it.
Okay.
Pu'er is terrifying. In that, a, what the hell is it? I mean, I know what it is, right? But like, what the hell is it? What the hell? But B, pu'er people are snobby. I have found specifically in Western society, because pu'er, I feel like is very similar to like really fine wine in like upper class American society, in that like in the tea world, in that it's expensive, it's confusing. There's a lot of barriers of entry and stuff, but so pu'er is scary. And first of all, what I'm seeing immediately is that yes, this is extremely accessible. I can see why this is accessible. This is nothing like a sheng I've had before. I've got a Shagwan 2.0 in my Pumador that I really enjoy, but this is nothing like that at all. But anyway, that was a really long way of getting around to saying I feel like what I always hear people talk about is the Gushu pu'er, and this is not that. I was reading in that these are like 20-year-old trees. He's let them just kind of grow wild. I believe I've seen a picture of the trees. I think sent me a picture one time. I can't remember, but I don't know what's the big deal.
What's the big deal?
What's the big deal with that? I don't know. I'm talking. I'm tea drunk. I'm just spewing thoughts. 20-year-old trees, Elise. Tell me something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 20-year-old trees are young trees. So, like, this is certainly not a gushu. This is not even a dashu, probably.
Right.
What?
Dashu being old tree, right?
Well, dashu is big trees. So, those are big young trees. So, maybe like a 60 or 80-year-old tree would be a dashu, and then gushu would be like 300 years.
Right.
He has gushu. And he can make gushu. Of course, it's much more valuable and has a very different profile than this tea. But the energetics in this tea certainly are still there. I'm feeling. I mean, you're feeling. You said you're tea drunk, so success.
Yeah, I literally had like that first infusion go through and like was immediately like totally different energy from the last tea.
Yeah.
The last tea made me want to go run a marathon. This one is like, nah, bro. Sit, watch a movie, relax.
Yeah. Just to steep in your wisdom and potential wisdom. Yeah. Yeah. So what's craft about this tea has more to do with the processing, with the the roasting and scenting with the herb. This is not a tea that he typically produces like on a regular. When we order it, it's kind of a special order type of a thing. Like he wants to make sure people really want it, because I don't know if this tea is so popular in China. It's so popular here because yes, it is very approachable,
right,
and relatable. Like, it still has that kind of musky, sweet dirt taste to it, like that all pu'er has. And the minerality that is associated a lot with the qi and the energetics, but it also has this kind of sexy, relatable, aroma and kind of feeling, like kind of warming feeling. But in China, I don't think it's very popular. But they'll make it for us because there's such a demand for it. And sticky rice pu'er, you'll see in other forms. Usually, it's as a tuo cha, like they're in like small little pink wrapped little tuos, mini cakes, and it's usually made with the shu pu'er, but like factory made shu pu'er. And I challenge you, if you see one, Colin, try it.
And compare it.
And compare it, yeah. At least with your memory of this tea, because you'll get the same aroma, but I feel as if it's like artificially scented, the ones that I've experienced in those pink little tuos, and the energetics of the tea obviously aren't as powerful and balanced as this one. it's not common to find the sticky rice in a matcha form. Like, no, there's not many tea importers that are bringing this into the market.
I feel like we're starting to toe the line of the conversation of blended teas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With the accessibility, being the floor dust that I'm always talking about, specifically in the fact that what you're telling me here is that this is a style of tea that is delicious, lovely, but might not be super popular in China, but is rather popular and accessible to your markets here. It is something that's interesting to me because of the discussion that I know I've had with you over like the blending of teas for Western tastes and stuff. And I'm just, again, with the fetishization of Eastern tea tradition, just kind of like this weird kind of mix of the two dilemmas that we have of non-terroir specific tea, whether this discussion of the sticky rice kind of takes away from that or not. And I don't think it does, because I don't feel like I'm losing the tea itself. And that's something I'm always talking about when you add like bergamot or the lemon peel, orange peel, mint, lemongrass, I don't care, whatever it is. You're trying to distract me from the fact that I can't taste where the tea comes from, right?
Yeah.
And so what's interesting to me is that I feel like this tea specifically starts to consider that zone of tea blending and tea culture, but never goes there. And same with the Genmaicha, it never goes there because of, I guess, how it's blended, because I can still taste the tea. I still know where the tea is from, right? I know I can taste the land, I can taste the processing, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to say. But just interestingly, I feel like this gets close to that issue without ever quite crossing that line. And I don't mean to say that, they're dumbing down their tea or whatever, or blending tea, but just that it's interesting to me that this is the one that's really popular.
Yep.
I'm curious if this is an interesting this would be an interesting gateway into, by the way, it's eggnog.
Eggnog?
Yeah, serious eggnog. That's what I'm tasting.
Oh, interesting. Huh. That's
Yeah,
a new
I picked
one.
it out.
I've never heard that one before. So you got honey smacks or golden snacks, or they were just
Honey
called
smacks.
They were just called smacks.
I called them. They were always honey smacks on the box with the frog.
With the frog, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Honey smacks and eggnog. Does that mean that if we were to blend the two teas together, let me try it, they'll taste like honey smacks with eggnog instead of milk?
I don't know. I don't have any more of the Genmaicha.
Nope. But it's interesting. They're like very different experiences, these two teas. I knew that there wasn't
Yes.
going to be a whole lot of parallel other than the concept of like rice, blending something in it to give it the characteristic of rice. But the teas go in two very different directions.
They do. And I'm, again, very glad we went in the direction that we did, because I don't think I could have handled this energy turning into the Genmaicha energy. I don't know. I guess I'm curious, though, what I'm saying about like blending and stuff. Does that hold me water, or am I just blowing hot air right now?
No, it's true. Yeah, for the most part, blending and flavoring has been a tool of masking lower quality product with something
It's like a marketing
interesting.
thing.
It's a marketing thing. Just as this tea is too. This sticky rice port, just like I'm saying, like in China, like this is not like a hugely popular, high demand tea. It's something that's interesting in there. Like most tea lovers are aware of it and may have some, but it's not like it's really popular here because pu'er is new into the market, especially Sheng pu'er. Like
Yes.
there was a movement for a while, mostly on the West Coast, of popularizing shu pu'er by certain brands and tea educators and tea masters or whatever. But to support the popularity around shu pu'er, oftentimes the marketers would kind of like talk down about Sheng pu'er, and you'll see
Weird.
that. I'm sure you still see that now. They say, oh, you shouldn't drink Sheng pu'er because it's too rough on your digestive system. It's too rough on the body. It needs to age and ferment. It needs to. And a lot of that is just the marketers trying to educate the consumer to support the product that they're bringing. And,
Right.
Up
Yeah.
until that point, it was all, cakes of shu pu'er. And yeah, it's true. If Sheng pu'er made from bad energetics is gonna tear your body apart, because wonky energy, that's what I call it, wonky energy is there, and the fermentation process can help balance those wonky energies and make it more balanced. But with a good quality leaf and craftsmanship behind it, that energy is balanced. Like, yes, there's a lot of energy in this tea. I mean, you got tea drunk, I'm feeling it. But it's not like wonky. It's not like crazy in one direction or another. It's pretty balanced.
It's very pleasant. It's relaxing and warming, and I always seem to like lose you at some point on my OBS in terms of being able to actually capture. No, but it's a really calming tea, I feel like, and the sticky rice you were saying being kind of a comfort food, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, me having it being reminiscent of eggnog, like, for Western culture, that eggnog flavor, that's a family thing. It's a whatever, Christmas time, blah blah blah, and so it's just kind of, I guess, oh shoot, is this what I need?
What is it?
Well, it is, but it's not working. I don't know. I'm like losing my. I for some reason I've lost my capture for your camp, but
That's weird.
yeah. OBS, but yeah, no. Do you want to talk at all about where the tea came from?
Well, yeah. I mean, I could show some more. Show some
Mhm.
more video and whatnot.
If I can get it to work.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not gonna happen. I gotta do it this way.
Come here, Biddy. Hey, baby. Come here.
But yeah, feel free to share. I would love to learn more.
So I've got an image of Sai, the wife, Sai Lee. She's holding up some tea among their younger plants. Let me see. I'll screen share to you. Should I do that?
Go for it.
All right. Yeah, this is Mr. Lee's wife. She is also tea master. She's showing us like the good harvest. So you see what she has in her hand there is like, that's the plucking standard, which is not, the 2 leaves in a bud that we're used to seeing. So, even with the Sheng tea processing, they do use like more mature leaf sets and larger leaf sets.
Interesting. And I don't know. Never mind. I had a question, but it got caught, and I'm not sure how to actually ask it. So
You got a question?
I don't know. I had a question for you, but I don't know how to ask it. So I'm just gonna happily listen for now and see if I
Okay.
can't figure out how.
Cool. All right, so I wanted to show this. This is actually a really important thing. I know it looks boring, but this is important. This is probably like the most important when it comes to talking about the age of the tea tree and the value and the quality of the tea tree. So, a lot of people equate the age directly with the size, like the height of the tree.
Hmm.
But oftentimes that can be misleading, either because the farmers are regularly pruning the trees, so it can be deceptive about how old the tree really is based on its height. Um, but you can always look at the girth of the bottom of the tree, or you can look for the growth of these like plankton things. These are all different.
Oh.
Like fungus, and these fungus colonies take years and years and years to develop. And with these older trees, so this tree is actually quite old. It looks young, right? Because the tree is thin and it's pretty short. I think the tree itself is shorter than me.
Right.
So you would think, oh, this is a young tree. But if you look at these colonies formed on the branches, you'd see that there's a lot of shit going on. There's multiple layers. Yeah, this is an old tree. Really cool. You see these little things. That's all different types of like fungus that take a long time to develop the colonies. Like this doesn't.
Do you know how old?
I don't know how old, and that's not important either. Like I would guess this is probably like maybe 200 or 300 years old, but that
Shit.
doesn't matter. You can't even like determine that. I guess if you cut the tree down and count the rings at the base, but
But then no tea.
yeah. So no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to like be perceptive and have a good positive intuition about understanding these things versus trying to like qualify things by absolutes.
Puerty has kind of taught me a little bit about that, I guess, in my limited experience with it about tea, and just that there are so many variables to this style of tea, so many variables, and not only in the production, like where the tea comes from, the trees, the processing standards, the plucking standards, whatever, even all the way to how you break the leaf off the cake to how you brew the tea. There's so many variables, and the tea has taught me to be flexible and just learn from the tea a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta. So this image of the tree that Sai is inside, I think she did climb the tree a little bit, so it is quite a big tree. But this is probably very similar to the plants that would have been used for harvesting this tea that we're enjoying right now.
These could be our leaves.
Yeah, that is possible. I probably not exactly it, but like similar of size, because like these are the younger plants that they have more recently planted. These are not like the old growth trees that have all of that, fungus growth all over it. These are younger plants. These are younger, more vibrant plants.
Oh,
But they
and
still grow pretty big. They still grow pretty big, Only
Yeah.
20 years. I mean, I've seen like 7-year-old tea trees that are very, very large. The marketers will try to tell you, oh, here's a picture of this tall tree. This is how you can tell it's very old. So like if the tea marketer is really trying to establish the age of the tree, they really should be focusing in on the images of the trunks with that growth on it.
Not the size of the leaf and
Yeah.
the height.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Those are deceiving, characteristics to look at.
But I will use my growing knowledge here and say, correct me if I'm wrong, but based on the leaves and the knowledge of the tea and stuff, these are Assamica cultivar tea trees?
Yes. Yeah, but some people wouldn't like that answer. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
Because like there's a little bit of debate. If those cultivars, if those varieties are actually the same, or if they're related, or
Right. Okay, I know what you
Yeah.
mean. Because
Yeah.
so when I talked to Sussman about the Manipur trees, that's basically what he was saying, is that the Assamica tea tree, the Assamica cultivar teas in Yunnan, and the Assamica cultivar teas in Manipur, and the Assamica cultivar tea bushes in Assam are completely different.
Yeah, they are different, but probably deriving from the same source, and
Right.
that's something I'm personally very curious about. I've been building a network of experts and students and scholars to try to tackle down that story, like where did the seeds come from and how did they evolve. This is just an image of the general terroir.
Hmm.
I think I took this image from the top of a tea tree. So here where we are at this point, we are harvesting single bush trees. So these are very, very old trees that we had the great privilege of working with and harvesting. And we did make, very rustic, small batch but from each individual tree. So we worked on 2 different trees and we just harvest, one batch from one tree and one from another tree. So this here is the harvest from one of the trees.
Wow.
How much we can fill in one basket from one tree. That's how large these trees can get.
Wow.
Very, very large trees. But then, like, at the same time, it's like I think she even might be squatting on the ground and her hand is extended and touching the branches of the tree. But these are very, very old trees. And the reason why the tree is so short, because you think of old tree and you think, oh, it's got to be like 80 feet up in the sky, which I've seen those types of trees, but
Not necessarily, though.
yeah, because if the farmer is pruning that tree every single season, like they, to keep it manageable, the tree will keep built like growing out this way, and so that's how we were able to harvest so much because it was very bushy. It was very bushy all the way around, but it was still short. The base of the trunks was very wide, and you could see how old the tree was, but the branches are all still tiny little things because they're basically new growth every year because they get pruned.
I love these photos.
Yeah, this was a special thing. And we, like, on this day when we hiked out here, we did a barbecue up in the mountains and it was freaking awesome. They were showing us. So this is like a factory, but we don't get our tea from this factory. This is like the traditional way that the tea is roasted, just in a wok and fired with like wood fire.
I'm getting on my 3rd infusion here, and it's like the mouth feel has opened up into something that is just so creamy. Oh, wow.
Let me get my 3rd going. Actually, no, I have my 3rd year. I'm already on it.
Hell yeah.
Bitcoin, you want some? Yeah, no, his BO is not smelling like sticky rice today. His BO is smelling, and it smells like normal sweat and dirt. So not sweet, not not sweet and rice-like.
Well, Elise, I don't know about you, but shall we consider finishing up and
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
let me fix. There we go. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back to my return cup here. I got my 3rd steep, nice and creamy, and return cup.
The return cup. I never heard it called anything. You've given it a name.
Oh, I heard somebody else call it this. So
who?
yeah.
Who? Let's get
Zealousy,
credit.
actually.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah,
He does
Zealousy.
that?
Yeah. Afan's in the chat. Afan, can you give me a shout out for Zealousy? Zealousee. Thank you. But yeah, he I saw him call it that a few times, and I was just like, I like that. But yeah, there's like no flavor in this first one in comparison.
Yeah, it definitely opens up later
Yeah.
on in the serving.
Anyway, but yeah, thank you for joining me, Elise. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed this session particularly well, actually.
Yeah, this is a good one. We got more coming. We got more exciting stuff coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are some exciting samples. So I am doing not necessarily like a boot camp type thing, but I'm gonna be kind of like going into the editing booth. I'm the type of editor that like does several hours in one sitting and then doesn't touch it for 2 days and then comes back and goes, what the hell did I just do? So I'm gonna get like I'm gonna do one of those bigger editing sessions for this podcast soon. So I'm hoping to be able to start releasing it within a week or two here.
Great.
And yeah, I hope everybody in the chat has been enjoying our live sessions. But do you have any parting thoughts, Elise?
Drink more tea.
Yeah.
Yep, drink more tea. And if you're interested in trying any of these teas that we've been drinking on the podcast, yeah, you can get them all at teaanditspeople.com. That's our retail website. And
my chat real quick.
yeah, I'll put it in mine.
Yeah, I've had a bot timer going every several messages that just pops up with a, this is T-Let, go to their website.
Cool, thank you. Oh, Jim, thank you too. Oh, Jim is still here? That's great. We had 2 Jims on. Awesome. Jim Chestnut. Yeah, he's the tea grower from the Big Island. He stuck around and hung out with us.
Hell yeah.
That's cool.
Well, Elise, cheers to you. I'm probably going to continue my stream and play some Slime Rancher or something, but cheers to you, friends. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Cheers to your stream. Cheers to my chat.
Yep, cheers, cheers, cheers. Bitcoin too. Thank you.
And I will catch you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks for the good times.
Yeah. Later.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
All right, now it's just us. It's just us. Oh, Bitcoin, what do you think? You want some tea? You think you want some tea? What do you want? You want to tell everybody a story? You want to tell a joke? What? What? You ready to go down? Here, say goodbye, everybody. I love you all. I love you. That's Bitcoin Boy. He's a good one. Yeah, that's fun. So that was our 3rd episode of the First Steep. It's a new tea education podcast with our new tea friend that we met through TikTok. If y'all aren't on TikTok, I recommend it. There's a lot of cool content, cool discourse, a lot of vulnerability, things to learn from. I highly recommend it. And you could just check out the hashtag Tea Talk. That's where you'll see all of the tea peeps. Hey, Brian, what's up? Brian, you always catch the last 2 minutes. It's funny. No, I'll chill out for a second with you, Brian. I just finished with Colin. I was streaming with Colin, and we drank Genmaicha and sticky rice Sheng to kind of compare and understand how teas can be blended to enhance their quality and character. So just on like the 4th steep of this sticky rice Sheng. Brian, how you been doing? Staying cool? We've been having some pretty intense weather here with the humidity. Ooh, I am feeling like intense energetics from this tea though. I probably should eat some dinner after this. So you've been all over the place. Well, I hope it's all been productive and good for you. And you're in Phoenix now? I should go visit you. We're not too far away. Brian, next time you come to Vegas, I have a new restaurant that we need to go enjoy together. It's Chinese barbecue skewer, and they specialize in spicy lamb barbecue skewers. They cook it over coals at the table with like this like conveyor rotational mechanism that like evenly cooks the skewers for you at the table. It's good stuff. It's my favorite restaurant in town now. I ate there last night. I could eat there every night. They have all kinds of stuff. They don't just have the lamb. They also have various cuts of pork and chicken and the bacon wrapped things. It's very good. Yes, spicy lamb barbecue skewers. And Justin knew, and he'd be into it. I'm sure Justin would love to eat with us too. And for any of y'all looking for good food in Vegas, feel free to reach out to me, send me a message, ask me where you should eat. I do a lot of eating here in Vegas, and I can help point you in the right direction. But the restaurant I am just speaking on right now with the spicy lamb barbecue skewers is called Kushi, Kushi, and that is on Jones and Spring Mountain. 2 thumbs up, all the thumbs up possible. It's good stuff. And it's not too expensive. Like each skewer, none of the skewers are more than like $2.50. So you just order a bunch and they discount it at the end and give you your bill based on how much you ordered. But yeah, I'm ready to like wind down from all this great tea drinking tonight. Go take a breather on the couch before I hit the road, because yeah, my energy is feeling a little wound up now. Brian, thanks for stopping by and saying hi. It's good to see you as always, and hope to see you tomorrow night. I will be back with some video gaming, and Wednesday we will be having the practicing safe sex conversation in the evening. And yeah, thanks for sticking around this channel. If you want to come back to the tea table, just follow me. You can follow on Twitch or on Reddit. That way you'll get notifications of when I go live, and you can always check us out at our retail website at teaanditspeople.com. I'll put the link there in chat. Yeah. Good night, Brian. I don't think I'm going to do any raiding tonight because we got no one on Twitch with us. But until next time, much love to all of you. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. It was a good combo. Drank some good tea. I got to have some fun.